So on this, the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, I wanted to talk to someone who was directly affected by it. So we have Francesca DeVito on with us. She's been a friend of the show for years now. In fact, I think we first met her when she called in to tell us the story about losing her dad in the towers that day. And Francesca, I really appreciate you being on with us and taking the time.
Thank you, Wally, for having me. It's an honor.
So how old were you on September 11th, 2001?
I was 13 and I was in eighth grade, just my last year of junior high school.
I can't even imagine that day. So can you tell me kind of what happened on that day?
Yeah, so I lived in New Jersey, and where we lived in Jersey was right across from the Hudson River, so you could see Manhattan clear as day from my classroom window. I will never forget, I was in eighth grade English class. I did not do my homework, and I was grounded by my dad the night before for not doing it. And you didn't see the plane hit, but you saw this big fireball. And I was like, what is that? And
wait, not even on TV? You saw it, like you could see it from your classroom. Oh my goodness.
I just remember my gym teacher coming up to our English classroom and saying, a plane hit the World Trade Center. And I'm about to show my age right now, but they brought in the wheelie cart with the TV on it and put it on because my English teacher, actually, her husband was working in Manhattan that day. And it didn't even click in my head that my dad would be there because my father was the lieutenant for Port Authority Police, and he ran the police academy in Jersey City. He wasn't even supposed to be at the World Trade Center.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I remember that, and it wasn't until about fifth period that we were all lined up in the cafeteria gymnasium where the teachers went down the line, like, where do your parents work? And it was just so bizarre, but now I understand why they did it. And my mom was actually a nurse, and my dad was a medic and a police officer. And when I told them where my parents worked, they pulled me out of line and had me call my mom, but my mom had already left work to try to get me and my sisters. And I spoke to one of her coworkers on the phone, and she said that your mom left. She already spoke to him. He's fine. And she's coming to get you to just wait at home.
Okay, now was that true? Or at the time he was fine?
He was able to get in and out of the North Tower a couple times, and called my mother and let her know, like, the situation's pretty bad. They're putting people on ferries from Manhattan to Jersey City. It's a lot going on. I'll call you whenever I can. And that was their last phone call.
Oh my goodness. And so then he went in multiple times, helping people. And then he was in one of the towers. Was he in the North or South Tower when it collapsed?
It was in the North.
It was in the North.
In the North Tower. And he actually was ordered by his inspector, I think it was. His radio transcript showed the conversation that he was told to leave, to evacuate and abort mission. And he said no.
Oh,
he
wow.
had one other person stuck in a stair chair. She broke her leg, and he used a firefighter's stair chair they use for people that are in wheelchairs or can't walk. And he said he wasn't leaving her, and he went back for her, and he knew he was going to die, but he wasn't going to let her die alone.
That is amazing. Like that chokes me up. We throw the word hero around in our society so flippantly. And I think we want to honor people that, you did something really nice and you're a hero and stuff like that. That right there is the definition of a hero. Somebody who goes into the line of fire, somebody who runs towards danger, not thinking of themselves. And then sadly, your family is left to pick up, the pieces of that. But that is what a hero does, and I would imagine that you, as hard as it is losing him, that story and hearing that had to bring you some sort of comfort. Or did it make you angry as a 13-year-old kid? Like, Dad, why didn't you just come home?
So I actually was more mad at God than my dad at that time. We grew up in a strict Catholic home, and it actually pulled me farther away from Jesus, that experience. And I said, why would you let something horrible happen, God? Like, why? Like, he didn't deserve it. And, to lighten the moment, my dad was not a very brave person, ironically. We had a swimming pool in my childhood home, and he was almost 6'1", and he still used floaties. So for him to run into the Twin Towers it didn't make any sense to me. It's like you had a chance to get out. Why didn't you? But now as an adult, I look at it as how many people can say that their parent is that selfless, that they were willing to die. They knew that they weren't going to come home, but they wanted a one last ditch effort to try to let this lady go home, you know?
Yeah.
And when they found his body in February of 2002, they actually found him and 4 other police officers with him. And his equipment, his breathing equipment, was on the lady's face.
Oh, so like all the way to the end, you knew he was doing his job and he was being a hero, helping her all the way down, and he just was that close. Oh, that would be so hard to, I think, handle. And so when you're a kid, you know, you remember all this stuff and it's got to be hard. Is there a point for you that it switched from pain to something positive, remembering your dad? Like, did that take a lot of years to get to that point?
It took a while. It took like, I want to say like the 15th year anniversary. And it took me, you know, being saved again to understand fully that God will never walk you through a storm without a purpose. And sometimes we don't live to see the reason why some of the tragedies in our lives happen. But I've been blessed to kind of have some insight that my pain can actually be a purpose to draw people closer to Jesus and actually help them understand they're not alone. And it took a lot of life experiences and becoming a mother myself and a wife to understand what sacrifice really means. And it made me appreciate him a lot more than, you know, when you're a teenager and you're a rebel without a cause.
Yeah.
You know, you don't really understand why your dad is so strict because you think you have all the answers. But now, you know, I look back and it's like, you were a really good dad. And I just hope that, you know, I can be that good of a mother to my children.
Yeah, and that's one of those things, too. You have that perspective now as an adult where you could probably carry guilt for how you behaved as a 13-year-old. But now as an adult with your own kids, you know there's nothing you wouldn't do for them. There's no way they could ever lose your love. And so I would imagine that helps you, too, going, I know I could have been a little snot at times, Dad, but you know, I know that you love me completely.
Yeah. So my last words to my dad, I don't really talk about it, Wally, but I feel like I've grown a relationship with you guys enough to be very open.
Yeah.
Well, my last words to my dad, because he grounded me, were, I hate you.
Oh.
And I can't. But I look back now, like I've walked through that, and I know he knows I didn't mean that. But now my oldest is 13 and in 8th grade, the same age, same grade I was when he died. And here it's like, yeah, I'm a good mom. Like, your kids don't tell you they can't stand you if you're not doing the right thing. Like, no one wants to get grounded and say, you're the best mom. It's like, I can't stand you. It's like,
yeah, you know you're doing it right.
Parenting. I know I'm doing it right.
See, that's the thing. I feel for people that have that kind of an interaction at the end, you know, where you don't get that chance to make it right or to let someone know how you really feel. Like, I feel for people that are in that place. My father passed away, and I got a chance to tell him what I thought, you know, and I'm so thankful for that. It was hard losing him, but so thankful for that. And I always try to encourage people like you know, in this moment too, because dads know they're making tough decisions, but they know that their kids love them, and they know that they love their kids. And that I'm sure your dad, the way he sounds, that was a blip for him. That was a blip, you know, and it doesn't define your relationship. It doesn't define you. It doesn't define him. It was the day. And unfortunately it happened on his last day, you know, and that's gotta be hard. Have you kind of made peace with that?
I have. It took a while. Took a while. But like I said, becoming a mom gave me a totally different insight in life. And I just, you know, I feel like sometimes as human beings, we forget how gracious and merciful God is, and that we need to be more gentle with ourselves. We're human beings. We're going to make mistakes. There was a 13-year-old kid,
right?
You know, out of the 6 of us, I was the rebel without a cause. I mean, you don't get a throat tattoo by being like a goody goody, right? So I was the not the bad kid, but the like rambunctious one out of all of us. And I was the troublemaker. Like it was like typical Francesca acting up, it's
Right.
just another day. And I see that now, but it took a long time for me to come to that point.
Well, it's interesting because my brother has his checkered past and just got out of prison and stuff. And like, I got to see, because he carries guilt over that, but I got to see my dad's immense love for him that he doesn't even see or he doesn't even feel, and my dad saying, look after him, and basically showing him unconditional love, and so I think as parents, we can love our hard children even more, in some ways, or differently, but more because we know they need it, and so hopefully that brings you a little bit of comfort, because we've all been that hard kid at some point in time. Well, let me ask you this. You talk about a period of anger at God for taking your father away. Did you ever have a period of anger towards the people that took your father away, the terrorists? Like, did that?
Of course. I mean, I'm human. Who hasn't gotten angry at someone, especially a murderer? Yeah, my father was murdered. Let's call it how it is. It was a horrible act of evil. And for a long time, I struggled with stereotyping all Muslims.
Sure.
I'll be very honest and raw with that. And I know it might make some people uncomfortable, but God doesn't call us to be comfortable. We have to be accountable for the things we've done, right? So I was a very ignorant teenager. I didn't understand why you would do that. I still don't. And in a way, I kind of feel that's a blessing because you have to be a certain level of evil to understand why someone would do that. Yeah, for a long time, I carried a level of hatred. Like, how dare you take someone who was probably one of the most funny, kindest, sarcastic people in life that never hurt a fly. He lived and died the same way, just helping people. That's just how he was, and I was angry for a very, very long time. And it took, I want to say, the 2016 anniversary, where I actually was asked to do a speech down here in Florida. And I actually opened the Bible for some guidance on what to say. And I opened up to Matthew, where Jesus, was asked by Peter, how do you forgive someone who keeps hurting you, right? And he tells you, you gotta forgive them, was 70 times 7, right? And that really hit me. Like, I'm harboring all this anger to people that it's only blocking my own blessings and my own healing process, right? If God could forgive some of the most vile things done, right? And people really come to the cross and bear it all, who am I to hold on to that, right? It took a while to come to that place, but in a way, if I didn't have that process, I wouldn't have the insight I have now.
Sure. You'd be stuck there in that hatred. Mm-hmm. And it's a hard thing for people to understand. Like, forgiveness a lot of times is as much for you as it is for somebody, because you can forgive somebody that doesn't want your forgiveness. And that's the case with terrorists. They don't want your forgiveness, but you get stuck in that place. And so for you, forgiving these people that you'll never meet brought you to a new place where you could then move forward and start to heal, I would imagine.
1000%, because they robbed me of my father. They robbed me of my childhood innocence. 9/11 broke up my family a lot, and we're still dealing with the ramifications of some of that stuff. And it's just like, being so angry and hateful, I'm just as bad as they are in that sense. And that's not how I was raised. So you got to let go and give it to God, because at the end of the day, God is the one that's going to be the righteous judge, right? He's going to be the one that brings us justice. And we may not live to see it on this earth, but we will at heaven's gates. And that's what we have to hold on to too. Like, it's not our place to be like, this is what you deserve and shame on you, as evil as they were and what they did. It's humbly, you have to say, this is not my place. God's going to deal with it.
Yeah,
It's
this
not
is bigger than me. Yeah.
Exactly.
Above my pay grade, but I still have to forgive.
Yes.
So did you find yourself, as the years went on, I would imagine the first couple years, there was so much patriotism and everybody rallying together to, help and make sure people were taken care of. Did you find that as the years went on and you got older, there was less and less of that and you just kind of had to do things on your own? Or was there a community around you that stayed involved, like the Port Authority or firemen or other people in your dad's life?
So I think as a whole, society really has been torn.
Yeah.
20 years ago, we all stood up and said, united we stand, divided we fall. And I say, as humble as possible in a non-judgmental way, we are divided, right? We're always arguing over politics and who voted for who and who believes this. And none of that mattered on 9/11. My father didn't run up a staircase asking who he voted for.
Right.
He did his job, and I think, of course, I have a beautiful community that I'm so grateful for, not just Port Authority, but his personal friends still call me here and there. There were 6 of us. My dad raised me since I was 3. He wasn't my biological father. We were blended family. And I'm just reminded all the time, like, he loved you as his own. And it did not matter that you didn't share DNA. He loved all 6 of you the same. And I'm just blessed and thankful for Port Authority always reaching out, for, his best friends since like 20 years old. They're all in their 60s now, still reach out. How you doing? I've moved from New Jersey down here to Florida just for a fresh start, but no matter how far away I am, they always reach out, and I'm forever grateful for that.
To see you, and hear you tell your story about being 13 and the last day and the last conversation you had with your dad, and to see you now as this godly woman that has this perspective, and there's no way I could begin to tell you, like, how proud your dad would be of you. Like, as a dad, like, all we want is for our kids to be okay, and to see you now, there's no way he could not be just elated with the woman that you've become.
I appreciate that. I am not going to cry, Wally.
You're pretty tough. I've already gotten choked up like 3 times.
I'm holding it back right now. But it's funny you say that, because during support drive, I shared this a little bit with you in an email that I had been praying. I've been really struggling with grief this year. I think it's because it's 20 years. I've had more years without him than with him. And, I'm a wife and I've been going through things everyone does, right? And I prayed to God like 2-3 days before the support drive. And I said, God, I know this might sound weird, but I just want to know if my dad is proud of me. I never got that sit down with him and had a cup of coffee, like, are you proud of who I am? Because, I was 13 and I was still becoming who I was, figuring out life, and then I had to do it all without him. And then during support drive, you had a certain number that had come up of the amount of money you needed to get that, what do they call it?
Yeah, we had a match going on. It was $180. I will always remember this. Yeah.
And my dad's badge number was 180. And I think I am a firm believer in signs from God. Like, He talks to you in his own way that you will understand. And I was like, all right, I got a call. And I was like, oh, here we go. So, and I didn't want to cry, and I did. And I called up and I was like, listen, just take the 180. It was my dad's badge number. I shared his story with the operator. And you said on the air, God used you as a vessel, Wally. Francesca, your dad is so proud of the woman that you become. And when I tell you, I hit the kitchen floor crying, just like, not of like sadness, of closure. It's something that I've been wanting to hear for years and years, because like I said, I made choices in my life that, you don't get throat tattoos and hand tattoos, being, walking on a straight path. And I was a teen mom. I got pregnant in high school, and I just was like, did I let you down? Are you disappointed in me for making the choices I did? And you literally were used for a prayer answering, and you said he's so proud of you, and that brought me that brought me so much closure, Wally. And for you of all people to do it, you make me laugh so much. And some of your personality kind of reminds me of him, where I know some people don't understand your sense of humor. You could be sarcastic, but that's how my dad was too.
Yeah.
And I often joke with my husband, John, I was like, maybe Wally's really from New York or New Jersey, because he's got that spunk about him like we have. But
no, somewhere I lost my accent.
Yeah, sometimes you remind me of him in a comforting way. And it's like, for you of all people to be the one to say it, it meant that much more.
Well, we absolutely love you, and you've been such a great friend of our show, and so I am curious here, last question, like on a day when everyone wants to really honor the victims and the heroes of 9/11, it's a big anniversary, the 20th anniversary, are you forced to relive this pain about losing your dad, or is this actually become a good moment where you can talk about him and redeem some of that?
A little bit of both, you know, like not many people lose their parent the way I did, right? Not many people, when your dad passes away in a car accident or cancer, it's not replayed every year on TV.
Exactly.
To me, it's legitimate emotional torture. So I don't turn the TV on that day, but I try to use it as a time to honor him. He was such a good dad. He was a good person all around. So what I do is I have been asked to do a couple speeches, locally, and I decided to do a poem reading. I didn't write the poem. I wish I was that creative. But, I'm doing a poem reading here for a local sheriff's department. And then there's a couple of people that asked to interview me. And I try to turn it into a positive, like he always would. And just say, if his story, especially in the climate of the world with how some people view police officers, if I could give a humanized version of what's really behind the badge and bring people closer to Jesus and, just remind everybody, at the end of the day, we're all just people. We all bleed red. And, we all have families that we just want to go home to at the end of the day, right? If I can use my pain for a purpose that unites people and brings people closer together, I think that's the best way I can honor him.